Bye. Oh, dramatic style.
Yes. So yes. So again, please, if you're watching, donate. Every little helps. It's for the Willow Cat Sanctuary. Like I say, help the kitty cats, especially in the weather out now.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't checked the total in a while, so I'll probably do that at the halfway mark. But we were looking quite good at the start. I did shed a little tear when I saw we were over £300.
Well,
so
I'm gonna do mine tonight. Just before we finish, I'm gonna put mine in. Wow, Sarah, loving the picture in the background. Loving Mr. Berthnell looking directly at me.
And when you
this.
turn the light off, it's
glow.
It's glow in the dark, and he's a zombie. That's why it has to stay in the office, because I can't have that in anywhere near our bedroom because it frightens the life out of us.
That's amazing. I want one.
Yeah, it's class. It's really good. This is my husband's office. Can you tell?
I've had to locate into my husband's his little nerd room, and yeah, I've taken his computer for the days he's day off as well. I've taken his full space up.
Julie, that's what a partnership is for, sharing our spaces.
Hey, he married this. He knew what he was getting into. Like, he knew he had to share things.
Excuse me. This is a wife-free zone in this place. This place is mine.
It's all right for some.
That's just because she doesn't want to come in and dust it. So don't worry.
I just want to see the dust and just yeah.
Pretty much.
I've come fully prepared. Look.
Oh wow! Are you expecting not to do any talking, Sam? You're just going to sit there going, yes.
I think I've got a lot of making up to do for the fact that I wasn't here for the first hour because of all the technical issues that I had, and the massive tantrum that I threw in the living room. So I think I have a lot of making up to do. So I'm going to just do it quietly.
That's fine. But yes, so again, like I said, thank you, Sarah, for coming on. I know you nominated yourself to come on the podcast when we first mentioned it, said you had an interesting topic, but as with all our guests, like if you're brand new to it, we do like you to share a little bit of your nerdisms to us. So take it away, young lady.
Oh, I think young lady. Oh, God bless you. It's so weird to actually chat to you, because I feel like such a stalker listening to your podcasts on Spotify, mostly in the shower. That it's not saucy or anything, just with 2 children, that's literally the only time that I can listen to your podcast, because you do swear a lot, so I can't ever play it around the kids.
No, my dad always tells us off as well, so don't worry.
Yeah, so it is really weird to chat to you, and it's great, and that's why I volunteered so quickly, because I thought, I'd love to get involved with that. And you know, my bread and butter is to literally talk all the time. So this is brilliant to be able to do it for fun, and to talk about, like, not just other people's lives, but things like my life and things that I love. So, I mean, like, of course I was going to sign up. But yeah, a little bit about me. I'm a Humanists UK wedding celebrant. So I spend all day writing people's ceremonies and obviously doing their wedding ceremonies for them. So, you know, I talk a lot for a living, and I often spend my days listening to people's love stories and trying to convert that into something that people want to hear on a special occasion. So for me, what I wanted to do in the podcast was talk about my top 5 couples.
Wow! Yay!
Nerdy couples. I mean, being a massive MCU fan, there's just a plethora of couples in there, but I'm not, obviously it's not limited to that. I'm just saying that that's where I'm going to be coming from, because that's where I've got the most knowledge, and, you know, that's where my interest.
That's where your passions is, so no, I completely get that.
I'm the self-proclaimed Marvel girl, so I'm totally with you with this one. If you just want to talk about Marvel couples, I'm up for that. Really good choice.
No, it's nice. I love that idea. Like you say, you convert like people's stories into love stories as well. You're a modern day Disney type thing, writing.
Oh my God, you are
writing that type of aspect. So again,
I didn't know that. I was the fairy godmother, because I'm clearly not a princess.
Babe.
Maybe taller. But I mean, one of the best things when I am writing scripts for people is to ask couples like about couples that they know about from media, you know, from film and from books, because I only know my couples for like, you know, for 5 minutes on a Zoom call. So if they can tell us about a couple that they think's great or that really gives them like a connection, then I can instantly know, you know, what sort of couple they are and what they're looking for. You know what I mean? So it's just such an obvious thing for me to chat about because I just write about them all the time.
I think that's such an amazing idea. I absolutely love, and I love your job. Like, your job just sounds so fun.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be a teacher and I loved it, but it's not fun. It's very hard work. This is a dream job. And if anybody in the nerdy community would like to join us, please, you know, give us a quick message. I'd love more nerdy celebrants to work with us, because when I go to the meetings, I often mention things and they're just like, what's she on about?
I'm sorry, what are you referencing there? Yeah.
Well, because like I'm desperate to do a cosplayer wedding, and I keep saying to all the other celebrants, if you get anybody who asks for like a Harry Potter themed wedding, or do you know what I mean, any sort of like a Shrek wedding, I mean, like I know I've seen that online.
I've seen a Shrek one online as well. No,
and they're all like, well, what's cosplay? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, no. Don't blaspheme around me. So yeah, if there's any nerdy couples in the north,
God, I'm already married.
Like, I do varinos as well.
I'm sure there's a few like say nerdy couples that's like weddings being delayed and stuff that's mentioned. I think even our very own Donna is getting married soon as well.
What is she?
I believe so. I might have just outed it, so I could be. I'm sorry if I'm wrong.
Which Donna?
Donna Yeoman.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I'm sure. She said she was getting married next year, or otherwise I'm totally just outing her for no reason.
Were you just pulling a blanket around yourself there, Paul? Have you got a little knitted blanket over your legs there, Petal?
It's freezing in this room.
Yeah, I'm in like the coldest room of the house as well now. I've got mine over there. I've got a good big massive duvet behind us as well.
Yeah, I'm 40 next year as well, so I'm old and decrepit, so I've got to keep myself warm. It's to stop the cats from attacking us as well, because they've been attacking us the last few weeks in the podcast. So keep them away.
Yes. I'm gonna be an absolute nightmare and go and grab my cup, because if I don't, I'm going to choke on my popcorn. I am having. I'll be back in a sec. Just keep talking.
Yeah.
Proper drama queen today.
I know. I am. Yeah, I am.
Yes. No, that's a great topic. So, nerdy couples, is it nerd couples in any type of genre?
Yeah, and they don't necessarily have to be successful couples. Just couples that have given you an emotional connection, or have given you the feels, like, and made you think like, wow, you know, I've really enjoyed watching that couple. You know, obviously without going down a saucy element. Because I would like to show my children this at some point.
Well, we are trying to keep the swear to minimum, because I have let myself down a few times, but that was during the stressful first hour when nothing worked.
When I was causing so much drama. I am back.
But I promise I won't drop any C-bombs at least till later on. But what we're going to do as well, I've mentioned in the organisation group, I'm recording this, so I will chop it up as well. So each individual part will have its own YouTube video.
So you will be swear free, I promise.
So I'll do my best. I can't promise it won't be swearing, but I'll try to keep it to a minimum.
No problem at all.
So
especially if I know when it's coming, I'll just be like,
do what my mum and dad used to do, just start making loud noises and singing and put your hands over your ears. Sorry, I am literally just sorting myself out well with my very cheap cherry pop.
So yes, Sarah, so we'll get you to start us off. So we'll go with your first pick, not your number one pick, but your first pick.
Yeah, no, these aren't in any particular order. In fact, they're in a sort of chronological order from how I came to them. So as I said, I'm a massive MCU fan, and that really started with the X-Men animated series. So like I was a teenager when that came out, and it
Mhm.
just instantly connected with those feelings of like being an outcast and feeling
Mhm.
like you're a bit weird and a bit different.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just absolutely loved it.
Mhm.
And the two characters in particular that I couldn't get enough of was Rogue and Gambit. I
Yes.
just
The
loved them.
minute you said X-Men, I knew you were going, because it sounds very similar to mine. Like I would have picked, yeah, I get it. I totally
Yeah.
get it. That is an amazing choice.
I mean,
Mhm.
from that point forward, I started buying X-Men comics.
Mhm.
I remember once going to the newsagents and asking if they could order the X-Men comic in for us, and she thought I was asking for porn, and she was like, yeah. And I was like, no. But yes,
As a kid growing up in Sunderland, I totally relate to that because I could not get X-Men comics for love or money.
yeah, and they're
anywhere.
everywhere now. It's great, and I love that it's so accessible now. Whereas before it was proper niche, and it was like, you know, you read comics, that's like really weird. It's not. It's fab.
Yeah.
It's another medium for
No.
communicating people's stories.
I'd 100% agree with you because I went to Southmere School. I used to get bullied quite a lot just for taking comics to school, so that was always an interesting time. But
Did you go to Southmere as well, Paul? I went to Southmere too.
I thought I recognised you a little bit there.
What year did you come? What year were you in? Like, what year did you leave?
I can't remember the year. Like I say, I'm no good with dates. But I think it was 1998. I was a year.
Oh, you were the year above me.
Right, because I was in. Trying to think. I don't know. I can't remember people. I didn't really like people at Southmere, so sorry. Except from Brad Dobbin, who's watches. He was a canny lad. But no. But
sorry.
like when you talk about the cartoon, because the thing that again, one of the greatest intros ever made, like but the artwork on the cartoon as well, again, not to sexualize it too much, was quite graphic, especially for a kids TV show in the day. Everything was very skin tight, very voluptuous. There wasn't much left to the imagination, but as you said, the relationship between Gambit and Rogue was always quite tantalizing because he was always like almost chasing her, and she was, you could tell she liked him, but with her not being able, the aspect where she can't touch or be that aspect, she was always kept him at an arm's length, and it was always like a unrequited love, which was a little bit sad at times.
I would disagree. It was totally requited. They both wanted each other. It was obvious, and it was really steamy. I mean, like when you're a teenager watching this cartoon of two people who really want to touch each other but can't. It's like
the sexual tension was unreal.
Yeah,
and also
indeed.
finding being a young teenage girl and having unrequited feelings for an animated character was all kinds of wrong, because I felt
at least it was human.
Totally crushed hard on Gambit so badly. I don't know if it was the accent or just his general demeanor. Like I was on it.
Oh no, I'm right there.
The whole Cajun aspect.
Their relationship, if you go a bit wider with it, because what was great about that animated series was that the writers wrote for a more adult audience, like for a teenage audience. So the relationships were quite complex and developed over time. And like what I loved about Rogue and Gambit was that they genuinely made each other better people over time. Like they wanted to be better for that person, and they tried really hard. And I love that. I mean, Scott and Jean are brilliant and really interesting storylines that they had. But if I'm honest, boring. Yeah.
Really, really boring. I could not give two hoots about bloody Cyclops. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just his ways being seen in media. He's just bores the life out of us.
I'll give him his due. He is better in the comics. In the comics, he has got more of an interesting arc, and there's more. There's more to him in the comics, especially when in the X-Men versus the Avengers, Cyclops is kind of like the villain in that.
That's true.
But he does well there. I'll stick up from there. But
again, no, I get that. I've read that, and I do get what you mean.
But talking about the relationship between, like in the X-Men, like I said, there was always one, like an interesting one between Jean Grey and Wolverine. I always thought that was more interesting than Jean Grey and Cyclops. That kind of made more sense to me. But the one relationship in that cartoon, like I say, that stood above everything else was the Rogue, and it might have been just because I fancied the pants off Rogue to start with as well.
I don't think I found any teenager of that era who watched it who didn't find Rogue to be the most gorgeous. Like, if I was ever to be able to cosplay, I would try and do her. But like, it's
just a whole sassiness as well. Like, she was just pure sass, and she was so confident, even though she had like something that we could never grasp our heads around, not being able to touch somebody.
Yeah. It's really heartwarming as well, because you feel sorry for her in that episode as well, where they offer the cure and she's like in the line for it, and people are are saying like, you shouldn't. I get confused with the film. Anyway, in the animated series, they definitely did that as well.
No, they did. It was
genuinely
because it was the Age of the Apocalypse one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know, like the later seasons in the animated season, the quality kind of went down. Like the first 2 seasons were absolutely
unreal.
Unreal. I'm glad they're bringing it back, and they're doing the same type of artwork as well. I know they released the artist who was doing it. I can't for love remember the name, but they are going to keep it like the same type of look, and it's supposed to be going to continuing on from the stories as well. So that's quite exciting. That we're going to get more X-Men cartoons instead of we're going to get X-Men films when the MCU pull the finger out the arse and fingers out the bottom and do that. But that's the interest. But yeah, good first shout. That's quite an interesting one.
And hopefully we'll see Rogue and Gambit's relationship maybe go somewhere, with the continuation of the series. We might actually see, them starting
100%. Or see it in the live action as well, because we've never had that in the live action, because Rogue was always portrayed as a young girl, and Gambit was only in X-Men Origins, which we don't really talk about.
No. But in the film, she was so dull. Like, that's not Rogue. Rogue was so full of life, and just like that, the Louisiana accent was just unreal. Oh, I loved her. And then you got
a Southern Belle.
I'm
gonna go with probably one that jumped out of me head straight away as soon as you said couple, but it's quite dysfunctional, was Firefly, Mal and Inara.
Yes.
I'll try and say it. Inara. Like the sexual tension, like will they, won't they? You can tell they both have that feeling, and it was something that was never addressed fully in the TV show or on the film, but how protective of you become, and how protective of her you become as well. And the episode with the amazing Christina Hendricks in where she tricks Mal into like kissing her and pass out, then Inara thinks he's dead and gives him mouth to mouth, and she gets paralyzed as well, and like and she tries to like play it off. But that whole dynamics and relationship in that was always quite strong and like stood out quite powerful to me, because like I say, I am a huge Firefly, and I'm I was gutted we didn't get more. I know we got the kind of ending in Serenity, but that one jumps out to me if I'm thinking of like a couple that meant a lot to us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I always found it when you're saying that Mal really protects her, but to be honest, I think it goes both ways. Like, particularly in the film, she protects him quite a bit as well.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
Yeah, and the lovely, like the cushion each other, the cushion the blows of all of the like horrible stuff that happens by just knowing that person's going to be there for them. Yeah, I do really love those as a couple. I mean, husband said I couldn't put those on the top 5 because they weren't actually a couple.
No.
I think it's a relationship there, because it's almost like a schoolyard like romance as well, where you used to pull the pigtails on the person that you fancy, or push the person that you really wanted to be around, or be a little mean to them, because they have that little like spiteful like relationship where they'll make comments like he's always making reference to the job she does or like the line of work she's in, and like she kind of just rolls it off and doesn't take offense to it. But that was always the kind of dynamics I kind of related to. But 100% they are a couple. I couldn't see them, like, if Firefly kept on going, I could see them both settling down, or being like, say, in a little farm, or like in a little cattle and stuff, raising that along the time. But that was always the pipe dream for me.
I've just had to adjust my mic. Can you, just because I was getting feedback on it, can you hear it still?
Yeah, you still can hear you, don't stress.
It's okay. It's okay. No, I could hear you. I can, there's bits that like coming through on in my ears and I can hear stuff, and I was like, oh, is it because I'm too loud? But no, right, that's all right then. Oh, that's okay.
Shall I move on to my next one, the number 2?
Yes.
Yep, go for it.
So I went for Tara and Willow from Buffy.
Beautiful.
I know. It's like all the feels. It's just so bad. I mean,
Too early to cry.
sorry, it's too soon. It's still too soon. I mean, in that program, you're literally, swimming through interesting couples. There's loads of different relationships that
Dynamics,
you can talk about.
yeah.
But for me, I mean, like, I'm trying to go a bit chronologically. For me, as like a nerd, and that Buffy started airing just as I was starting to work at 16, and like seeing their relationship in my early years, and Tara and Willow particularly, it was really like interesting to see like how their happiness was dead infectious, and it like really bonded the group and made the group feel a bit more like family orientated and less teenagery. It helped them transition more from like less teenagery into like proper family.
100%. Yeah, it was done beautifully. And again, sorry to jump on there, but I think what it did as well, that broke down barriers with that relationship, where a lot of like I say, gay or lesbian relationships weren't really shown at that time, especially on big TV shows. But if they were shown, it was always like gritty or kind of dirty type thing, where this was wholesome.
Secrets and
like this was quite wholesome, like the relationship. There was nothing seedy or it wasn't over sexualized or anything like that. It was just done like where as you would with you, like you meeting like your partner and growing with your partner, like that, the same type of trials and tribulations. And like I said, I remember the time when Willow like kind of broke Tara's heart by casting that spell, and then Tara found out. I remember crying at that aspect because you knew how much it hurt Tara as well.
That's what made them more believable, and that's why it was so well written, because that is like a normal relationship. You make mistakes, you do things that at the time you think are amazing and it's such a good idea, and actually it hurts the other person. And it's through that trial and error do you start to like form an even stronger relationship. And that's why I really enjoyed watching them, because I just thought they were really like, I don't know, like really pure. In the sense that it was just lovely.
I think pure is like pure is such the right word to describe them too. That episode when Tara's family comes back and you've got a very young oh my gosh, what's her name? Redhead, really famous actress. She played Lois Lane. Help me out, please, people. What's her name?
Oh yes, Amy. Not Amy.
No.
Anna Fields. No. She was in Enchanted, wasn't she?
Yes. What's her name? But she played Tara's sister. I will figure her name out in a bit. And when they come in to take her home because she's got a demon in her, and not just Willow, but the lot of them stand up for her and say, like, we're a family. You're not taking her away from. I bawl every time. And
it was such good character development for Tara. She became
Amy Adams. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. You were saying?
No, she became so much more like self-aware and able to like speak up after that, and like a real like cemented character within the Scooby Gang. That it was a real good turning point, their relationship. I think it really made the program a lot better. It really added tons to it, and obviously, like we're not going to mention how that ended, but
I liked how. Like it wasn't like I know it was a big moment, but it was understated. How she, and I thought it was done like perfectly well, and that was what brought on Willow. But as you said, absolutely perfect. And casting wise as well, I don't think anyone else could have played them parts as well, or made that magic work as much.
I really enjoyed it, and I mean, what Willow obviously did at the end. I defy any couple in the same scenario not to react in the same way, obviously given the same circumstances. And that's, some of that sort of like emotion and emotive language, and it really inspires us when I'm working, because that is how big it feels. It does feel like end in the world when you're away from them. So, all of these characters that I'm talking about today are fantastic examples of just what we live through every day.
Yeah.
And then just like snippets of the human experience. And you know, I'm really grateful to writers have been able to encapsulate it just so beautifully. And Tara and Willow are a fantastic example of that.
Yeah, probably my favourite episode with them two in is probably the musical episode as well, Once More with Fielding. Just like say you go through all the different aspects of their relationship, like from them being purely in love, then Tara finding out what Willow had done. And it just like say it's such a, I wouldn't say a feel-good episode, just it's entertaining, but it takes you through the emotions from start to finish. And it's one of my favourite episodes, full stop. Some of the songs in there are actually quite catchy, even though half of them can't sing. It's entertainment for that.
Yeah, they all give it a good go though, bless them.
That's a bit like me on this podcast, shall we say.
For me, goodness. Cool. So shall I move on to my third one then? I don't mean to like plough through them, but I'm desperate for all 5, so I don't want to miss any out.
No, don't worry. We wouldn't let you miss any of them out, don't worry.
So like riding on that wave of how Tara and Willow ended and that grief, I'm moving on to Wandering Vision. Yeah.
Wow, no. Wow.
No.
It's like, oh, why would you do this to us? It is just so heart-wrenching. But like, I find, particularly in the comics, their story is just so captivating, particularly Wanda. I mean, like, I'm not identifying with her at all. Obviously, there's, you know, my life is nowhere near as complex, thankfully. But she's so interesting.
Really?
Like, she has these like epic powers, but every time she uses them, she just messes it up, and people get so angry with her. And even when she tries, like in House of M, when she tries to put everything right and give everybody a perfect life, people are still like, no.
It's giving a shit for it.
The thing is, though, it still doesn't work out in some ways in House of M how she expected. I'm currently reading the my God, what is the matter with me? I can't get my words out. I can't talk. The something of Magneto, the trial of Magneto. That's it. And I was within the first few panels of that, I was dumbfounded, absolutely dumbfounded, because it's the death of Wanda.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get us wrong, don't last very long, but it's also the death of Wanda, and I'm like, holy crap, what has she done now? Like, how has she ended up here again?
And that poor woman deserves love. That woman has earned some love. And so when their relationship developed, I was just like, yeah. And like, I'm really pleased with how the MCU have presented it, particularly in that epic TV series, which just kept you guessing all the time. I loved it.
It was fantastic. Even the nods they did in Age of Ultron, when he first picks her up in Age of Ultron, and they give each other just a little look, and it's like everyone who's read the comics knows the relationship all screamed in unison when them two finally came in contact with each other, because there's such an amazing dynamic couple that everyone roots for them.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't always work out.
And when they're in Edinburgh and he's saying like, all we need is time, or all we need is time with each other, I'm just like, God, that's every single couple. Yeah. Every single couple, when you sit at people's marriage ceremonies, all any couple want is just time with each other. Like, we don't want to be at work, we want to be out with our partners having the best day. Like, oh, it's so
I think it's quite amazing, but also quite bizarre as well, that the most relatable couple that you can think of in, like, say, this type of aspect is between a machine and a witch.
Yeah.
but on a human level, like, say, you get so much from it. Again, from the TV show, I know we did like a podcast review of the episode, which
we didn't.
Did we not?
Didn't. No, we weren't doing the podcast. We did Falcon and Winter Soldier. We didn't start the podcast until way after WandaVision finished.
I'm sure. All right, I'm sure we talked about WandaVision, but
we might have talked about it a bit, but we never did. It was Falcon and Winter Soldier and Black Widow.
All right, because I'm not talking about Black Widow again, but no. I've had the conversation about WandaVision like loads of times. that show is just magic from start to finish. I know a lot of people said because they didn't know what they were getting.
Yeah,
but I love that aspect. As a show, I've never guessed so much about what's going to happen, who's going to be the bad guy.
It's like that meme with all the maths things behind that woman's face. You're like, who's that? How do they connect? What's that going to be?
I still think it was Mephisto, even though.
I was just going to say, when's Mephisto coming
into it? I got so much shit, but sorry. But I absolutely, like I say, love the dynamics because even when they've done the whole like going through the sitcoms and having that relationship then as well, it felt organic. It didn't feel forced. Like a lot of the like relationships, again, when you go through like the past like TV shows, you don't get that time to grow at that time. And I was so glad we got to see that aspect of Wanda and Vision. Again, I wouldn't have been too sad if they left it at what we got in like Infinity War, because I thought that was quite magical seeing at least that spark, because there was something definitely there, and that's probably what was the catalyst to getting WandaVision. I just hope they don't ride it out now and
ride the death of it. Yeah, I totally get that. But the reason why she created that world in the first place was absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, like, just grief.
It's just how to handle grief, and that's the only way Wanda knows how to handle grief is to just ignore it.
Yeah. And it totally took over her, and I think that connects with so many people. I mean, thankfully, I've never experienced, the desolation of that type of grief. But like, you can connect to it so easily because it is just such a human thing to just want it. Right, I just want it back.
And guess what? I'm the person who can do that. I'm the person who can. I'm not only wanting him back. I can actually do that. That is like so powerful. But their goodbye at the end, I was like,
and when she had to get rid of her kids, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Sam. Just don't. I mean, like, I've got 2 kids, I've got 2 boys myself, so I was just like, no, it's not happening.
No, I'll say this now: we have not seen the end of them 2.
Well, given that we heard them at the end of WandaVision,
well, you can see how the MCU is starting to build the Young Avengers, with Kate Bishop and all, with the Young Patriot when they introduced it in Falcon and Winter Soldier. They're going to build a series with those 2 in for sure. So, I'm not completely and utterly cut up, but that's my God. Powerful and made more powerful by their relationship as parents, because they had just such love for the pair of them, even though they were born of such weird circumstances. And I mean, every parent, obviously we don't have kids in that manner, but any parent can say, like, when you have kids, it's just such a weird experience that, like, it is like that sitcom. You're just like, whoa, trying to keep up all the time because things change so quickly. I loved their parent journey. I thought it was really.
But for such a short show as well, they showed so much, like the aspects like of getting a family pet and losing a family pet. Like that's like, because I've not had kids, and to me that's the closest thing, and having that aspect, but showing it the way they did, I thought was done really well. And as I said, like the little elements and little things that they brought in, like the Halloween episode as well, when the kids dressed up as like say as their counterparts, but bringing in the old like Marvel comic outfits as well, and how they brought the other person in that relationship into it was Quicksilver.
That was genius move.
And
what
just
a genius player.
Brilliant.
Because I know a lot of people give WandaVision shit, but I absolutely adore that show. I think it's up there with Watchmen for me for one of the best TV shows that's been made, especially in the last 10 years.
I don't know. I've just caught up with Hawkeye the first 2 episodes.
Me too.
Absolutely in love with it. Like, absolutely. Like, I have more feels from Hawkeye than I did of WandaVision.
And I feel like it so connects with that comic series.
Yeah.
That like,
doesn't it just?
Yeah, you're just like, oh, that's so cool. And I was wondering how they were going to do that, because obviously he doesn't have a family in that.
No,
So
Yeah.
I was like, they better not kill off his family for him to do this. Like,
You've
that
probably
was-
foreshadowed it now.
But no, because I think the best part that they did with Hawkeye is having an understanding wife.
Yeah.
And that is what Linda Cardellini is. She is a very understanding wife. She didn't question him. She hasn't questioned anything to, like, she knows he has to do this. And she is 100% supportive.
Is she a realistic character? I mean,
who knows? Who knows?
To
I
be
mean,
fair,
I don't
yeah.
think I would have her patience, but
Yeah.
she seems to be all right with it. I am absolutely loving that series. If I could have gotten that into any part of this conversation, I was trying to, because I'm loving it.
Shoehorn that one right in, and I'm absolutely fine with that, Sam.
Bless you.
I'm
Bless
really
you.
loving it. Not only
Yeah.
because it's given us tons of festive feels,
Yep.
but I'm wanting to desperately go to New York because of it.
Yeah.
The character development and like the interplay between Kate and Clint is just really cool.
I say
There's
to
a-
Anne that this
there's
is
a-
going to be the first time where people are going to fall in love with Hawkeye. For
Yeah.
real, going to fall in love with Hawkeye.
Yeah, he's not a
Oh.
background character anymore, and I think Jeremy Renner has easily got the chops to just lead it up. He's doing really fantastic so far.
Love it.
Yeah, I like bringing Kate Bishop in is never a bad thing, but like
Oh.
Pizza the dog as well. I'm out of the moon. But I got it's funny you saying the festive feels, like, because I said to my wife, the first episode I got a lot of Home Alone vibes, just because of the music tones and stuff like that. So I was expecting Kate Bishop to do a little Home Alone maze, like traps and stuff. I was expecting go all Kevin McAllister on them, but
That would be so cool.
possibly later on. But I think this one's going to be one of the top ones. I know, as I said, Winter Soldier was a bit of a not a letdown, just was a thing. Then it went crazy with Loki, where you didn't know what you were going to get. But I'm going to enjoy the ride with Hawkeye. I think I don't want them to be too many surprises. I just want it to be fun.
What I've enjoyed with the MCU TV series is like the really different feels between each of the themes that you're going for in each of them. They feel completely different. Wonder and the Vision is completely different to Hawkeye, and they're both just fantastic in their own right, but then they all just brilliantly fit together.
Yeah.
I'll take my hat off. They've done really well with that, and I'm so pleased, because it's something that I've grown up with and grown up loving. And when they started doing it, I'm just like, goodness, please do this right, because I want everybody else to love it as much as.
Yeah, me too. Especially, I've just read Matt Fraction's 2015 run of Hawkeye, and I was overjoyed because I love Matt. Kelly Sue his wife is one of my favorite writers of all time, and I love Matt as well. But I never really. Hawkeye is probably the first thing I've ever read of his, and to see that he is working on the show, that's what made me feel they've got it. Yeah. They will get Kate completely and 100% right because he's involved with it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting as well. Yeah, a point that you made about the Young Avengers as well, because I think I read somewhere, again, with the rumor mill, it was a few years ago now, when Tom Holland got cast as Spider-Man, that he was going to be playing the Tony Stark role to the new Avengers. So the Young Avengers is going to have him leading them out. Yeah. So that might be, like, say, it's Spider-Man's swan song in the MCU, like leading out the new team, which again, I know we're probably going to get about 17 different versions of Spider-Man, because they've cracked on to the perfect Spider-Man, and if they let him go, this will be the biggest mistake Sony and Marvel ever make.
Yeah, totally agree.
I was a complete Maguire fan and couldn't get enough of him until Holland. And then I was like, oh my Lord, nice one, son. He's fantastic. And then when you see Maguire in comparison with Holland, you're like, wow, Maguire's really old. It feels really uncomfortable, because you're like, yeah, he's not a kid, him, and he's
no. I think what I liked about the Holland thing, I think what sold it to me, I know it sounds really cheesy and all the actors do it, is when they released a video of him going into the children's hospital, and a little kid was saying, oh, it's Spider-Man. He took the mask off and he was good. It's really Spider-Man. And Tom Holland was acting all his way, and like, because he can do the moves, because he's a gymnast, so he can do the somersaults. So the kid was getting, oh, a bit like on Spider-Man Homecoming, when the kids get, yeah, Spider-Man, do a backflip. the kid was doing that, and he was doing that for the kids, and the kids were just going absolutely wild in the children's hospital. And I was like, yeah, he's got this nailed. So that was,
and he just loves it. You can tell he thoroughly enjoys the role, and you just wish that more, more characters had actors behind them that are that committed.
I've said this before on the podcast. There is nothing more thrilling than watching an actor be behind the actual character they're playing. It's not just a role. It's not just a paycheck for them. It's an actual investment, and I feel like that's what you get with Tom Holland. There's quite a few actors who do it. Obviously, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. was a definite power play for that type of person. And I think he probably had a lot of influence on Tom and how to navigate himself around with this character. We totally went off the track there, mind. We went from like
WandaVision, now we're back to
Spider-Man.
So yes, so we'll bring it back a bit. So we'll go back to your fourth pick now, Sarah.
Yes. So fourth pick, because I talked about Tara and Willow and Wanda and Vision, and getting on a bit of a downer, I thought I'd try and lighten things a bit and talk about Laszlo and Nadja, because I just
love them. I didn't realise what you were talking about.
Sorry, what we do in the shadows, I should probably specify.
No, we got the reference, don't worry.
It took a minute. I was like, oh my God, yes. Great couple. That is such a top-notch choice. The fact that he still loves her, even though she has had millennia affair with this one person who keeps getting reincarnated because he keeps killing him, is just genius.
And who could put up with Laszlo for that long? Yes. I mean, like, Matt Berry's brilliant and everything, but
and that hat.
More than one lifetime? No, you're all right.
But Nadia, she is absolutely beautiful. Like, say, just like even like when she's like in the first season, when she's giving little looks to the camera and stuff, you just kind of stop laughing as well. When she finds that the little girl from Booksmart who she's like, oh, little friend, I'll make you more confident, turns her into a vampire, and seeing the whole dynamic there as well. I absolutely love Nadia. And
can I just intervene just 1 second? I have not seen the third series.
Right.
So please don't reference the third series. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
No, it's fine.
Good job. I was about to mention something there. So good catch.
No, we're not finished it either. I mean, things like that are very adult. Me and my husband have to watch in the tiny portion of time that we have at the end of the day. So we will get there. But no, what I love about those as a couple, I mean, obviously as part of my work, it's just so easy to write scripts saying, I'll love you for an eternity and, our love is forever. But for that couple, it genuinely is. And what I love is not only are they so liberated with each other, the stuff that they're doing.
Anything goes.
Yeah. And they're so tolerant. And especially Nadja. There's very little that either of them could probably do wrong that, would, probably end them.
And they're quite independent from each other as well, because a lot of couples, it's so engrossed the story, they have to be next to you. But you could have a Nadia away from Laszlo or Laszlo from Nadia.
He left her. He went into work in the bar, if you remember, when he was in series 2.
Yeah, but she ran around for ages going, where is he? And I love that because she cares, because she often portrays herself being as very aloof and always looking down on him a bit. But then when anything happens to him, like when the witches stole him, she's like straight away, right, come on, let's get this sorted. I've got to get him back. And I love that protective element. That even though him killing off oh goodness, what's his name again?
Trevor.
When he's always chopping off the head of Gregor.
That's it.
Gregor.
Even though that's not particularly a great thing to do to your partner's lovers.
No, but she found it romantic when she found out it was him. She was like, that's like the most romantic thing ever.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, go on, Nadia, well done for spinning that into a positive. And is that not what relationships are? Taking things that your partner does and just going, well, it's good because.
Saying that though, I would have finished him for the hat though. The witch's hat. That would have been ending it for me. I would have went right. No, too far.
Are you trying to say now, Paul, that there's not an outfit or a piece of clothing that your partner absolutely hates, but you're just like, no, I am having this and I'm wearing it. You're gonna love it.
To be fair, you just talking about me dress sense. Not normally, it's.
No,
to be fair,
no.
she tolerates us a lot. Bless her.
But isn't that not what true love's all about? Just constant tolerance.
A very good point. Yeah. Yes. She puts up with me at my worst. That's probably the best way I can put it.
Yeah, yes. my husband's just had to like completely give me up his computer for the day, so I do not have any further tantrums. There you go. That's our true love.
Bless him.
What a beautiful wedding script that would make.
Honestly, if we knew, I got married in 2019. If I knew you, would have been very different.
Oh, that's very kind.
Very, very different.
And what an epic time to have got married, literally just before COVID. Because I mean,
we totally lucked out on that one. We got married Halloween 2019, and then obviously everything happened afterwards, and we're like,
so it's your fault, really? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Oh yeah, I created COVID.
Your wedding was the super spreader event that really ended it for us.
I've seen Contagion. I know what can happen.
I would love to say I had enough people in there to cause a spread. There was literally 13 of us, so I did not have a lot of people at my wedding. I was there very. See, I kept the numbers low.
And a lot of people do that, to be honest, particularly now, post-COVID times. It's a safer wedding to keep it small, and budgets are so small at the minute. And that sort of like big, epic, big fat Greek wedding is totally fallen out of favour. Yeah. But there's so many couples lost out. Honestly, I've got couples on my books for next year that are like 3 times rebooked because they've had to just constantly change it. And it's so sad.
Oh, dear.
So, it's great that we're doing stuff like this, to give people an opportunity to enjoy themselves and just feel great about nerdy culture and not feeling a bit weird about it. Because
to be fair, this is our therapy session. That's all. Because basically before COVID, this is what I used to do: sit in the pub in the borough with my mates and talk about this type of who was the better place, what film was good, what film was great, and that's what birthed a little bit of Nerdy Up North, just missing that type of conversation, because that's all it was. But then it was Sam forcing us into doing the podcast, because I'm not the most confident of people, which I know that doesn't normally come across, but yeah, it seems to be working so well. So because I know we are getting on a little time and you really wanted to talk about the last pick, so moving on slightly there, but great pick for for that one.
Cool. So go with us on this last one, right? I mean, you might know them or you might not, but they're really important to me and Stephen, my husband. So my last choice is Ben and Leslie from Parks and Rec.
Oh, Leslie, no.
Yeah, because we are Ben and Leslie. It's quite frightening. Some people think that Leslie Knope is a really annoying person.
She is not.
No, she's amazing.
She is one of the most loving, supportive, brilliantly intelligent women you will ever come across. If you see annoyance in her, then you are not watching Parks and Rec properly.
Oh, Sam, honestly, you're preaching to the converted. Seriously, that woman is so passionate, and I find her really inspirational, and just that sheer energy. Yeah. How can that woman keep going? But what I loved when I was watching Parks and Rec, not just when they started showing that they liked each other, which would give you all the heart flutters, because obviously I was an adult then in my own relationship with my husband, so it was just so exciting to see them starting to interact with each other in that sort of sense. And when he wants to take out a lunch in front of our favourite mural, even though he has no idea that that's our favourite mural and that's what she puts on our dating site. I really enjoyed watching 2 complete nerds from totally different nerdy backgrounds. I mean, you would say Ben was a traditional nerd in the sense that he loves Batman and all that sort of. stuff. Whereas Leslie, completely different nerd, a nerd for politics, a nerd for government. But what they both are is incredibly passionate people, and watching them just complete each other and make themselves just like incredibly strong and unstoppable. And then when you see them like later on when they do like the fast track in years, and they just get better and they do more and they achieve so much together as well. Like without each other, they're doing like small things, and then once they get together and like cement that relationship, they just achieve so much more. And like I find it really inspirational, and I'd like to think that that's how what me and Stephen are like, that, you know, individually we were fantastic people, but together, like, wow, there's nothing to do. And when I was talking to Stephen about it last night, he came out with something which is not particularly from my from my interests and what I was into, but it was such a good point that he made. He was talking about X-Files and Mulder and Scully, which was, you know, one obviously I considered. And he was saying he was watching an interview with David Duchovny, and he was saying, you know, like what is their relationship? You know, where do they stand? This was back in the day. And he was saying like Scully is like his human credentials, like his way of fitting into humanity, and that without he's really separated from humanity. And I find like Ben and Leslie are like that. Like, you know, they take like the really annoying bits of each other, and they make them easily slot into society, and it's just fantastic.
No, I like that. I do like that as well. It's quite an interesting point that you talk. So like we only did an episode last week on the X-Files, and we did discuss the relationship between Mulder and Scully and how it was more sexual tension than anything else, and we didn't want them to get together like for the show, because that would have kind of killed the dynamic. But I've never looked at it that way, that she's his validation in a way. So that's what he's kind of kind of using her in that aspect. But it's an interesting viewpoint. I've never looked at it that way, and it's probably changed the way I'm going to look at it now. So thank you. That's great.
Same here.
Okay. And I would say that's you know, our experience and why our relationship's so successful so far, because we do provide what the other person lacks, and I love that when people do write characters that have that capacity, and it's not just like, you know, the really boring like, oh, we've got to shoehorn a relationship into this. You know, it's an actual valid relationship that grows and develops and changes just like real people.
The proposal is one of the best proposals. It doesn't quite beat Amy and Jake's in Brooklyn 911, but it is, or even Michael's and Holly's in The Office, but it is up there. The fact that she says yes before he even asks is so Leslie Knope.
Yeah. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind, because obviously the time's going quickly, just to make a quick honourable mention. I mean, obviously, as an MCU nerd, I could talk about them all day long. And I wanted to include not actually a couple, but sort of a couple of Loki and Sylvie.
That's not who I thought you were going to say.
Who did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say Captain America and Winter Soldier.
Well,
I would have probably said. I would have went one further and said Captain Rogers and Tony Stark, the two power couples, because that was a relationship that had a breakdown.
It's not really long enough. Like Bucky and Steve go back to 1940 something. That relationship has been palpable. I can't even talk since then till now. Like Tony's and his is so new, and obviously if things didn't go the way they did, could have been more complex, because they're never always gonna, and they never agree with each other. Like there's only certain times like they'll meet on the same page, but then all of a sudden that page will just go. But that's a good one. I didn't even think of Loki because they're so new, like to the
it's such an interesting concept of loving yourself. Without getting like super creepy. But I mean, I've never been a particular Tom Hiddleston fan, because I mean, I know loads of people do really like him, but I think he just that man likes to whip his hair, and it does me nuts. But when I watched him with her, I got it. I got it a lot more, because she gave him the capacity to open up a bit more.
Yeah,
there was a vulnerability that you didn't see before.
Yes.
That aspect. I think the only time you saw it is when he found out his mother died in Thor Dark World. That was the only time you saw a little bit of like that aspect to Loki. But yeah, 100%, like it dragged it out and kicking and screaming, but to not, it wasn't even being the hero. He was just being vulnerable and wanting to protect, well, not protect, just do something that he might not have believed in, but thought was the right for once, which again,
he did the right thing for once, and it wasn't for his gain either. It wasn't something he was going to get advantage of, like he has done on everything else. Everything he's done has always been to his advantage, and this time he put somebody else before himself.
And
that is massive.
Yeah, and because if you think about it, when they started the series, he was coming like straight from that battle of New York, and so he was coming from a point of being like, you know, I should rule this planet. And he had none of that character development that we're all used to. He was starting from there, and to then end with him falling in love, and as you say, Paul, being super protective of this woman. That journey was really well written.
But again, trying not to lower the tone, but would it be classed as masturbation if they were together, or I don't know?
Well, it took until before 1 o'clock for the tone to just drop a bit. Well done.
But no, it's
I love the fact that I was the person to bring that out of you.
But that's the thing, though. As you said, love thyself. In essence, it kind of is that type thing, because all the different variants are just at different points in their lives. I know she found out she was a variant while she was very young, that she was taken away, and she's had to adapt and learn, where he again didn't go for the progression of like I say, the things he went through in the later stages, like Thor Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, where you finally saw Loki accept that he can be himself. He doesn't have to be this all empowering ruler. It was quite a journey for him to realize that, and I think it took Lady Sif to kick him in the nuts a few times for him to realize that as well.
That was genius, that mind.
And how quickly they did that was really interesting, because I mean that journey took films. You know what I mean? To do that in one series was class. And for the only person for him to truly have a connection with, be himself. In a different
makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't take Loki from, like, say they managed to snatch Loki before Thanos killed him, and he's been through Dark World, and he's been through, you know, he's been through Ragnarok and everything, and then he goes back, and that's the person they take. I don't think that series would have worked at all.
No. And
because I think the choices that he made would have been the complete and utter opposite. He had to go from up here to down here straight away in order to come on a level playing field. He was too humbled by the time of Ragnarok was finished.
Yeah. No.
I can't again doff my hat to the MCU, because with that in mind and what we've seen previously, it makes me so interested in where we're going to go further. I mean, like the next coming year, God, Spider-Man in December.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, we've got a podcast ready for it, so don't worry. But again, like good announce the honourable mentions, because ones I would probably mention as well, has been touched on. Jake and Amy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the relationship that grew from the series to the end was absolutely perfect, and done in a way that wasn't forced or anything like that. Also, again, might sound a bit weird, but probably Commissioner Gordon and Batman, that relationship grew through time, through trust, especially in the comics. And even like if you want to push out for a more romantic type of relationship, probably him and Selena Kyle, which is a completely combustible type of relationship. But still, you can understand why it works and how it works, if that makes sense.
No, I get that aspect of it, especially after reading Hush. Completely get that.
I find it quite hard to like have any like, I don't know, real emotional connections to any of the DC couples, because I don't, not just because I don't read a huge amount about it, but I do dip myself into it. I don't know, I don't feel like they can do a relationship without damage. It always seems to be either destructive or something destructive's happened.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's never, I mean, I'm not saying these relationships I've talked about are always healthy, but there doesn't seem to be the capacity to have a healthy relationship within DC. Please prove us wrong.
No,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. I'm like you. I'm a Marvel reader, not so much a DC reader, but I do like to get myself into a Batman issue now and again, and I get it. They can't. People have to be broken and damaged in order for a relationship to the build it on that, as opposed to just purity.
I think they're doing. Yeah, I think they're doing it better now. I think the one that stands out to me in the DC world is probably Ivy and Harley.
Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, that's really good, that one.
Yeah. I am finding that quite interesting. Yeah, I love that.
That's a good shout. I like that one.
And I know that like the cartoons out there, but they're bringing out the comic series itself. So that's, I think it came out a few months ago, or it might be not too long ago. So that kind of dynamic aspect kind of leads the way. I know the obvious ones, Lois and Superman, but again, it's not the greatest, shall we say? But yes, wouldn't be. I don't think, as I said, DC does relationships well. It's more about the dark and the sinister side.
Yeah.
But I think what DC do better, again, before it's starting a totally different topic, is the villains are much better than in DC than are in Marvel. But again, that's for another topic, another show.
You should you should do it.
Definitely. So that's an amazing pick. I wasn't expecting that type of conversation at all. So
I love it.
I really enjoyed it as well.
Oh my gosh. Here she comes.
Oh, please.
Hey!
Hello.
So here's Michaela. So Michaela, this is Sarah. Sarah and Michaela. This is Sam's
hello.
baby sister.
This is my sister.
So anything you want to say before we wrap up there, Sarah?
Well, myself, I'm just really, really grateful for being able to chat on about it, because, for all that my husband's happy to listen to us all day, or at least he's legally obliged, it's great to be able to just, chat about these things and to play off with people who, understand what you're talking about, because sometimes you do find yourself in a bit of a niche space. So it's fantastic, and I'm so pleased. And if any nerdy couples need any help with their ceremony, please do give us a shout, because love is what my job is all about.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. I really have had a pleasure this hour. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.